The merchant deck of station Kepler-442 hummed with the usual cacophony of interstellar commerce. Hannah pressed herself against the cold metal wall, her small frame trembling as 7 Craxy soldiers circled her like predators. Their chitinous exoskeletons gleamed under the station's harsh lighting, mandibles clicking in what passed for laughter among their kind. "Little human," the largest one hissed in broken standard, "you think you belong here, in civilized space?" Hannah clutched her datapad tighter, the device containing her mother's research, the only thing she had left after the Craxy raid on Colony 7. Tears streamed down her 13-year-old face, but she refused to hand it over. "Please," she whispered, "it's all I have." The Craxy leader raised a clawed appendage. "Then you have nothing." Alan was 3 shops down when he heard the commotion. The grizzled veteran had been browsing protein rations, trying to find something that didn't taste like recycled cardboard. At 52, with more scars than memories he cared to keep, he'd hoped his fighting days were behind him. The war with the Craxy Dominion had ended 5 years ago, and he'd retired to a quiet life running supplies between stations. But then he heard it. A child's voice, human, terrified. "Dad, please help her." Alan's head snapped toward the sound. A young boy, no older than 10, was tugging at his sleeve. The kid wasn't his son. Alan had no children, but the desperation in those eyes struck something deep in his chest. With Alan's voice was granite. The boy pointed toward the merchant square. Alan's jaw tightened as he saw the scene. 7 Craxy soldiers, full battle armor, surrounding a young girl. Hannah, according to the name patch on her jacket, the old instincts kicked in. Alan's hand went to his hip, finding the pulse pistol he always carried. Station regulations allowed for self-defense weapons, though most species considered humans paranoid for constantly being armed. Most species didn't understand humans very well. Alan strode forward, his military gait cutting through the crowd like a blade. Aliens of a dozen species parted before him, recognizing the predator's walk. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy now earned in blood during the Craxy War. Alan's voice cracked across the square like a whip. "Back away from the girl." The Craxy turned, and their clicking laughter died when they saw him. The leader's antennae twitched, scanning the threat. Human, male, military bearing, scars visible on weathered hands and face. "This is Craxy business." "Human," the soldier spat. "The girl stole from—" "I'm calling bullshit," Alan interrupted, stepping between Hannah and the aliens. He was shorter than any of the Craxy humans always were, but something in his stance made them hesitate. 7 armed soldiers shaking down a kid. "That's not law enforcement. That's thuggery. You dare." "I dare a lot of things." Alan's hand rested casually on his pistol. "I spent 4 years daring things during the war. You might have heard about it. Battle of Proxima, the Siege of New Harmony. I was there for both." The leader's exoskeleton plates shifted a nervous tell. Every species in the galaxy knew about those battles. The humans, outnumbered and outgunned, had fought with a ferocity that shocked the civilized universe. They didn't retreat. They didn't surrender. They adapted, improvised, and turned every disadvantage into a weapon. The Craxy had learned the hard way that humans were persistence. Hunters evolved to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. In space combat, that translated to a terrifying unwillingness to quit. "The war is over," the Craxy leader said, but his voice wavered. "Is it?" Alan's eyes were cold. "Then act like it. Leave the girl alone." For a moment, the square held its breath. Station security was nowhere to be seen. They rarely intervened in interspecies disputes. Unless blood was spilled, the largest Craxy took a threatening step forward. 1 human against 7 warriors. "You're outnumbered." Alan smiled, and it wasn't friendly. "You're thinking about this wrong. You're not locked in here with me." He cracked his knuckles. "I'm locked in here with you." What happened next would be talked about on station Kepler-442. 4 years. Alan moved first, and he moved fast. His pulse pistol cleared its holster in a blur, firing a stunning shot that dropped the nearest Craxy before the others could react. Then he was among them, using his smaller size and lower center of gravity to his advantage. A Craxy claw slashed at his head. Alan ducked, drove his elbow into the joint of the alien's exoskeleton, a weak point he'd learned about from painful experience, and felt the satisfying crack of chitin breaking. The soldier screeched and fell. 2 more came at him simultaneously. Alan grabbed a market stall's support beam and swung himself around it, using momentum to drive both boots into one Craxy's thorax. The alien flew backward into his companion, and both crashed into a display of Centauri fruits. The remaining 4 spread out, trying to surround him. Smart tactics. Didn't matter. Alan's pulse pistol sang again, dropping another soldier. He rolled under a slashing claw, came up behind the attacker, and delivered a strike to the base of the skull where Craxy neurology was most vulnerable. The alien collapsed like a puppet with cut strings. 3 left. The leader finally drew his plasma rifle, but Alan was already moving. He grabbed a serving tray from a nearby food stall and threw it like a discus. The metal plate struck the rifle's barrel just as the Craxy fired, deflecting the shot into the ceiling. Sparks rained down. Alan closed the distance before the alien could aim again, wrenched the rifle away, and used it as a club to sweep the legs out from under the remaining 2 soldiers. They fell hard. The leader tried to rise. Alan planted a boot on his chest and pointed the confiscated rifle at his head. "Stay down," Alan said quietly. "Please, give me a reason." The Craxy stayed down. The entire fight had lasted maybe 20 seconds. Hannah stared in shock as Alan helped her to her feet. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, unable to speak. Good. Alan kept the rifle trained on the groaning Craxy. "Someone call station security. Tell them we have an assault situation." The crowd that had gathered erupted in whispers. Dozens of species, all witnessing what one human could do when motivated. That's when the air shimmered, and a new figure materialized. Holographic projection, high quality, expensive, military grade. The alien that appeared stood 8 feet tall with flowing robes that marked him as nobility. His species, the Valderon, served as administrators for the Galactic Emperor's territories. This one wore the insignia of a count. "Fascinating," the count said, his multifaceted eyes studying Alan. "I witnessed the entire altercation through station sensors. A remarkable display, human." Alan kept his weapon ready. "Just defending a kid. No law against that." "Indeed not." The count's mandibles curved in what might have been a smile. "I am Count Zerethus, administrator of this sector. And you, veteran, have just done something very interesting." "What's that?" "You've reminded me why the Emperor wants humans as allies, not enemies." The count's projection gestured to the fallen Craxy. "These soldiers were acting without orders, extorting civilians. I've been seeking evidence to prosecute their commander for corruption." Alan lowered the rifle slightly. "So we're not in trouble." "Trouble?" The count laughed, a sound like wind chimes. "Human, I would like to offer you a position. The Emperor has need of individuals with your particular skills." Hannah finally found her voice. "He saved me." "Indeed he did, young one." The count's attention shifted to Alan. "What say you, veteran? Are you interested in serving a cause greater than supply runs?" Alan looked down at Hannah, then at the boy who'd called him Dad, still watching from the crowd. He thought about the quiet life he'd planned, the peace he'd wanted. Then he thought about kids like Hannah, vulnerable in a galaxy that didn't always play fair. "Tell me more," Alan said. The count's smile widened. "Excellent. I believe this is the beginning of a very productive partnership."